Next, let's look at a few examples. So here are three rational expressions that we would like to give the excluded values and also simplify. Your first step would be to try to factor the numerators or denominators if possible. In this case, none of these factor any further than they already are. And then after that, you would identify any domain restrictions and you would simplify the fractions by reducing what you can. So let's start with 2x over 18x. Now, 2 over 18, that reduces to 1 over 9. And x over x equals 1. So essentially those cancel out. And 2x over 18x reduces to 1 over 9. To get the excluded value, you want to go back to the step before you canceled out. Because if you look at 1 over 9, it doesn't look like there's any restrictions. 9 is never equal to 0. But if you go back to before you canceled out and set that denominator equal to 0 and solve, so we would divide both sides by 18. So we would get an excluded value that x cannot be 0 in this problem. Okay, for the next one, we're going to simplify as much as we can. We've got the 3 over the 6, which reduces to 1/2. We've got the x over x squared. Recall that if there's no exponent on those x's, like that top one there, then that's really an x to the first. And this is our quotient rule of exponents, where we would end up subtracting those. And we would do 1 minus 2, we'd get -1, so we'd get x to the -1. And then we have the x squared plus 6. Now in terms of simplifying here, 1 times anything is itself, so we don't really need to write the 1 in the numerator. And x to the -1, remember our negative exponent rule, that will send that factor to the denominator and make it a positive exponent, so it would be a +1, and we wouldn't typically write the +1. And we'd still have the x squared plus 6 left over in the numerator. So our simplified form would be x squared plus 6 over 2x. And remember to go back to the step before you simplified to find your excluded values. So in this question we would divide both sides by 6, and then we would take the square root of both sides, and we'd get that the excluded value for the second one is that x cannot be 0. For our last question, we've got 2x over x plus 2. And this one actually has nothing that we can simplify. You cannot cross off the x's. Be careful about that. That's a common mistake. You can only simplify things that are factors, not terms. And the x in the denominator here is part of a term, x plus 2, because it's connected with a plus or a minus sign, not with a multiplication sign. Remember, factors are connected with multiplication signs. So actually this one doesn't simplify at all. It's already in simplified form. But you can find the excluded value by setting the denominator equal to 0 and solving for x by subtracting 2 from both sides. So it does have an excluded value at -2.